Hi, everybody, and welcome back to my kitchen. My name is Greta, and I'm the dietitian at John Stoddard Cancer Center. So, today I have a recipe that I've recently tried to do with a live event, but had some malfunctions of the microphones. We're going to try it again and record it so that everybody can enjoy it. So, this recipe is for cauliflower shawarma. So, shawarma is traditionally a meat dish. It's kind of spit roasted meat that's sliced and made into a sandwich. So we are going to make it a totally plant-based recipe. We're going to take away all the meat from it and we're going to replace it with cauliflower, which is very meaty and used very often in vegetarian cooking, but we're going to add tons of flavor to it. You are never going to miss the meat. So we're going to start out by seasoning up our cauliflower and get that in the oven, and then I'll show you the rest of it. This is super simple. It's so amazing. So I'm starting out here with an entire head of cauliflower. This makes a whole bunch, and the great part about it is that there's usually tons of leftovers, which I find to be amazing as a breakfast dish. So I love serving this with some eggs and serve it up for breakfast. So I'm going to go ahead and get my cauliflower rinsed off. So I will be right back, and I'll show you what we're going to do next. Okay, so my cauliflower is all rinsed and it's ready to go. So we're going to start by cutting the core out for cauliflower. You can do this too with a smaller paring knife. Works really well. I'm just kind of going around the sides of it first. I'm kind of getting the leafier part out and cut this really tough core out. So we're going to cut our cauliflower up into some nice bite-sized pieces. So I'm going to discard that part. Some of the leafy parts too, you absolutely can keep those and roast them along with the rest of your cauliflower if you want to. I'm going to work on getting a little bit more of this core out. It's a pretty big head of cauliflower. Cauliflower is nice because it's also pretty readily available at all times of year, so this is an easy dish to make anytime. And it has lots of great spices and seasonings in it that we're going to talk about a little bit too. So once you get down to sort of some of the crowns of the cauliflower, we're going to just kind of cut through, and like I said, I want them in sort of bite-sized pieces. This is sort of going to be like a roasted sandwich, so we're thinking pieces about this size are just perfect. They're going to shrink down a little bit too when they roast, so you don't have to make them too small, but I want to make sure the tougher parts in the middle definitely get cut down a bit. And I don't like them too big. I'm in my sandwich, so I like to cut mine down just a little bit. So I'm just breaking these into more workable pieces and cutting out any more of the really tough core as I get a little bit deeper. Just like that. So now we have some workable chunks here. And I'm just sort of rough chopping them through and just sort of wrap sandwich sized pieces. When I watched the video on this one on New York Times Cooking, I felt like she cut her pieces left her piece a little bit bigger than I liked in mine. So I do cut mine a little bit smaller. I also feel like they cook a little bit more evenly that way. So that's kind of my preference. You definitely don't have to cut them up as small if you like them to be in sort of chunkier pieces. These will only roast for about 30 minutes, which is really nice too. It doesn't take very long. Perfect. And even, I mean, you can even kind of do it by hand too. You don't even have to cut that much. All right. Perfect. This was a giant cauliflower. It's going to give us tons to work with, which is great. You can keep trimming off some of the tougher core pieces too if you have some of those. If you are not a fan of cauliflower, you definitely could do this with a different vegetable. Broccoli would work really well for this. You could also do this with some mushrooms instead. That would work really well too. So don't feel like you're just stuck with doing this as cauliflower. This is a great dish that you could modify with other vegetables. It's really very versatile. The seasonings are so delicious, and it's just going to give it so much flavor. I've actually taken the seasoning and repeated that and put it on some sweet potatoes, roasted sweet potatoes, and it was so good as like a side dish. I've done it too with like parsnips and carrots roasted, and that was delicious. So you really, the sky's the limit on what kinds of vegetables you can do this with. It's always my favorite thing about a lot of the plant-based dishes that we do is that you really can modify them and make them your own. And use whatever kind of veggies you have available or whatever ones you really like. But of course, I always challenge everybody to try something new. So if you've never done a cauliflower dish like this before, I always say kind of go for it. Make it something totally new and different. All right, I'm going to get the seasonings that we're going to marinate this in a little bit going in this big bowl. So I have room to cut my onion. So we're going to add about 5 tablespoons of olive oil. So we want every piece of this to get really well coated so that it browns up really nice and evenly. So the olive oil will help it do that. And that's really all the fat that we're adding in this whole recipe is that olive oil. All right, so now this fun part, all of our seasonings. So we're going to start with our cumin. And I'm going to put in 1 1/4 teaspoons of cumin. So the other nice thing I try to do too is I try to introduce recipes to you that use a lot of the same seasonings, so you don't feel like you're going out and having to buy lots of different things for each recipe. I like you to be able to use things that you already have. All right, paprika. So you can go sweet or smoked. You know me, it's going to be smoked every time, because that's my favorite, but you can certainly use sweet paprika in this as well. All right, then we're going to add in some coriander, and these are all things that we're using in the taco recipes, so you probably already have them. And then one extra one that we haven't used yet, which is one of my favorites, and this is turmeric. And you notice my turmeric is in this cute little plastic bag. And that is because I bought my turmeric in the spice market in the country of Grenada. And I was in Grenada recently, and it is known as the Spice Island. And they had all kinds of wonderful spices available for purchase that they grow right there, which is incredible. And we'll talk a little bit more about that once we get this all together. Of course, we want to have some salt in there to season all of our layers. And I'm going to grind some black pepper. Perfect. All right. I am going to, excuse me for a minute, I'm going to grab a whisk and be right back. All right, so here's our mixture all in our bowl. I'm just going to give that a quick whisk to make sure that everything is well combined. Perfect. And then I'm going to go ahead and just throw my cauliflower right into that bowl with all that lovely seasoning. This is a good chance too to kind of check through your cauliflower and make sure it's all cut up in some nice small pieces for you. All right, looks incredible. I know it looks like a lot, but keep in mind, veggies when they roast, they shrink. So you'll have some shrinkage on this cauliflower. But it's a great way to use an entire head of cauliflower. All right. Now we can kind of zhuzh it all in our bowl. All right, cauliflower is in. So the last thing that we're going to put in here is some red onion. And I'm going to go ahead and use this whole red onion. I like red onion and I love roasted red onion, so I'm not afraid to go ahead and put a big old red onion in there. Just like that. This guy has one little soft spot that I'm not crazy about. I'm going to cut that right off. Okay. So I'm just going to cut my red onion in half. And I'm going to move my cutting board so you can see me, and I'm going to lower it down just a touch. So I'm just going to make sort of thin slices out of it, just like that. And some of them will get a little bit crispy. It's just going to be delicious. So we're going to throw these into our bowl with our cauliflower. Heat it. Our other half. Nice thing about this one, I know everybody's saying, gosh, Greta, there's so much chopping in all these recipes. This is all of your chopping. This is probably the least chopping of all the recipes that we're doing. And this one's nice because the chopping doesn't have to be too tiny or too little. All right. Now's the fun part that we get our hands dirty. Hands are most important tools in the kitchen. We're going to go ahead and just dig in here and get all of our cauliflower and all of our onion really well coated with all of the seasonings and the olive oil. And that's really going to help flavor them, and it's going to help them roast really nice and beautifully and evenly. And that turmeric is going to make it all this beautiful orange color, which I think is so much fun. All right, I think I got it all. So I'm just going to move. I have a sheet tray here, nice big size sheet tray. Move my stuff out of the way. Okay, we're just going to spread this out nice and even on our sheet tray. This was a giant cauliflower, I will tell you right now. It usually spreads out on my tray a little bit thinner, but we want to try to get it in as much of an even layer as possible. So I already have my oven preheated to 425, and we're going to go ahead and roast these guys for about 30 minutes until we start seeing some crispy ends and they're nice and soft. And then we will come back and we will do the next step. All right, so let's put together the delicious sauce that we're going to put on top of the veggies when they're done. And it's a kind of a little bit spicy tahini sauce. So tahini is a sesame paste. It's used quite a bit in Mediterranean type dishes. It's sort of the consistency of like a really almost thinner, little thinner than peanut butter. But kind of similar. And it does separate, like if you buy natural peanut butter, that the fat separates. So you do kind of have to give it a stir. And it can be found in pretty much any grocery store. Where to find it is always the trick. Sometimes it's by the peanut butter. Sometimes it's in the sort of international food section. Sort of hit or miss where to find it. I have found it at places like Target and Walmart. I've also found it at Fairway, so it's usually pretty readily available. You sometimes just have to ask where it is, because sometimes that's the trick, is finding it. So I'm just measuring out and scraping out the last remnants of my tahini. My tahini is well loved in my house, so I use it quite a bit. And we're just going to do about 1/3 of a cup. Okay, so we're just going to measure that out and set that aside. We're going to come back to that. And we're going to start this with our garlic. So we're going to do a clove of garlic. And we are going to grate our garlic because it is going to stay raw. So we don't want big mouthfuls of it. So it's about 1 clove of it. You know, my clove. Yeah, I have a nice size clove. So you can do this a couple different ways. You can do it with a microplane, like this. You can also do this with a garlic press that we can just grate it right in here. I'm actually, because mine's split in half, I think I will use a garlic press. Kind of depends on how big your garlic clove is. That's a can opener. Here's my garlic press. Okay, so I am going to do mine in a garlic press. You can also grate it if you have like just a cheese grater and grate it on the side with sort of the microplane part of it. So I'm just getting out. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put the lemon juice on top of the garlic first, and that's sort of going to mellow it out just a little bit. I'm taking the bits out of my garlic press, so then, because it's really all well mashed up, and I'm going to throw that in too. Because I want all of it in there, I don't want big chunks or pieces of garlic. So we're going to do that. All right. And now we want about 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, which is usually about half of the lemon. And we're just squeezing that right on top of our garlic, just like that. I got a seed. Okay. And just let that sort of sit for a minute so that garlic can just kind of lose some of its bite. All right. Then I'm just going to add a little bit of salt to this, just about 1/4 or so teaspoon of salt to it, just so that it's flavored. Okay. Then this is the magic part. So once that just sits for just a minute, we'll go ahead and put our tahini in. All right, and then what's really going to flavor this is harissa. So harissa is a spicy red pepper paste. Again, probably found in the international food section. It is pretty readily available. It is a little bit spicy. So this is the part where you might skip it if you're like, I really don't want something spicy, but you can decide how much you want to add. It's kind of between 1 or 2 teaspoons. I kind of like the spiciness that it offers. So I go ahead and make sure I add a nice heaping teaspoon of it. And then we start stirring it around. And what's going to happen is your tahini is just going to start sort of seizing up a little bit. It's going to thicken, and you're going to be like, what just happened? Why is this thickening? And it's sort of the reaction between the acid and the lemon juice and the tahini. So then you've got this like really kind of thick paste. I'm going to cheat this down, so I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. So, magic to how to make this back into a sauce again. I've got some ice water right here. And what I'm going to do is just gradually add a little bit at a time and then stir. And you'll see the consistency just sort of magically start to change. And we want to kind of make this more like a pourable sauce, kind of like if you imagine like the consistency of like ranch dressing, that it's more like a dressing and less like a paste. And it just will get silkier and smoother as you're sort of adding the water to it. So you just want to do a little bit at a time because we don't want it too thin. We're just about there. I just add just a titch at a time until you get to the perfect consistency, which is like right about here. Put all that garlic in there. So perfect. So now it's going to be easy for us to sort of just drizzle right over top of our veggies when we build our sandwich. So just a few more minutes, our veggies will be done, and we'll be right back. So I wanted to show you some things that you can use to serve your shawarma sandwich. There's all different kinds of toppings that you can put on it. One thing is I like to build mine on a whole wheat pita. So what I like to do is when there's just 5 minutes left on the veggies, I like to take the pitas and just put them right in directly on the rack in the oven just so they have a chance to warm up. So I'm going to throw mine in just a few minutes. I also have here on my tray a whole big old stack of flat leaf parsley. I'm going to chop that up and top it onto my roasted veggies when they come out. I like to serve mine with greens, so I'm going to put some arugula on mine. You can do some chopped tomato. I've done mine with slices of cucumber, which is delicious. You can do some sliced avocado on there, some olives and capers. You can really do whatever you want to kind of flavor it up and build your sandwich. So as soon as mine come out, I'm going to show you how I'm going to build mine tonight. Welcome back. Our veggies are out of the oven and they look so good. I'm going to put my camera down so you can see them. They smell and look so good. My pita is all nice and warmed up and toasty. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to build my sandwich tonight. So I actually have some leftover guacamole. This is a recipe I'm going to share in a couple weeks. And whenever I have leftover guacamole, it pretty much goes on everything. So I'm going to spread a little bit of that on the bottom. Then, I don't want to forget, I'm going to put some nice bed of arugula down, just like that. I'm going to come over to my cutting board. I've got this beautiful chopped parsley. I'm going to just put that over top all of these veggies. Oh, it smells so good. Sprinkle it all over. Perfect. All right, so now I'm just going to scoop some of these delicious veggies right on top of my pita, just like that. Oh my gosh, they look so good. This is one of those sandwiches that you have to stretch your mouth to get it around. And then I'm going to take that delicious tahini sauce and just drizzle it right over the top. And that is it. That is dinner. I hope that you enjoyed today and enjoy this recipe, and bon appetit.